spent, so much of the summer game planning for them. We have, pretty much our game plan ready to go. We've installed everything that we're going to take into the game versus Marshall. And really right now, though, we're not working on Marshall as much as we're working on ourselves. And, it's just been so long since we've been able to do anything with these players. So, you're very much in a mode of working on ourselves, evaluating talent, evaluating the incoming class, evaluating the new players, evaluating how much players may have improved from last year. When we get to about 2 weeks out from that kickoff, we'll be all Marshall. But right now, we're really trying to focus on us.
Kind of a follow-up to that, I know they had their starting quarterback leave at some point during the offseason. Is that a challenge, or like you said, is that something you not worry about now, but as it gets closer, try to figure out who they might have a quarterback or that type of thing?
Well, I mean, they have a very talented running back coming back, very solid offensive line, and a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. So I'm sure they'll have somebody there at that position, but it's not like that. Whoever it is, it's not like they have to carry the entire load. They have a lot of talent around. So really, I would think the thing they need is a game manager.
Coach, going back to the corners real quick, I know you talked about Malik Fleming stepping up the other day. Is he a guy that's made that jump going into his second year, and are there any other individuals that have made a jump as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I think he's been one that's been very, very impressive. It's we all saw last year. Probably was not ready to play last year, but got a lot of game experience. Just watching him, he has put on some muscle. He's really cleaned up his technique and his fundamentals. He's playing with confidence, and that confidence and his belief in himself is allowing him to really play fast. So the combination is, he's just able to react so quickly to anything, ball in the air, breaks, anything like that, because he does have, very good short space quickness. So, he has improved greatly since last year. Guys like, Nolan Johnson's battling a little bit of a little bit of an injury right now, a little bit, but, had a really good start last week. I got hope for him. Demel Hickman has been improved over last year. So I think those two guys, have really benefited from Coach Ellis. Sean Tucker, I think, has been, for an incoming freshman, he's surviving. You don't want to say he's excelling because freshmen just have so much to learn. But obviously he has God-given talent, and he's a guy that's going to improve, each and every snap he gets, going to be a good player in time. So those guys are the ones that really have stood out besides, Jaquan.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you've been aware of a lot of the national discourse with players and the hashtag We Want to Play. And you even had, I believe it was Coach Scott down in South Florida said, he wanted the AAC to be part of the Power Four now. Have you been having conversations with your players? We've been hearing a lot from the Power Five players, but we haven't heard a lot from the AAC. And for you and your players, have you had those conversations? Because you guys are going to the grind every day. I mean, I know they want to play, but have you had some of these talks about, what they look forward to, what they want, that sort of thing?
Well, we had these talks, from the beginning of preseason camp. And, as I talked about Tuesday, I pointedly asked them at the end of practice on Tuesday, and, the response was overwhelming. I had a lot of side conversations with some of our leaders. They all feel like everyone in the locker room wants to play. Certainly, it's a deal where, as I said on Tuesday, we've got to trust our medical professionals. We've got to ensure that we're doing things as safely as possible. I continue to be encouraged. We had another phenomenal week of testing. Got our test results back today. The kids are doing a really, really good job of controlling this within our locker room. And so, as long as we can keep doing this, then we can keep functioning. The challenge is, and I told the players today, right now, we're all conscientious of this. We've got to protect ourselves, because those outside of our locker room, they don't, they may want us to play, but the importance of it is not near the level of what it is to the players and the coaches. And so we just keep on harping on just protecting each other, protecting ourselves, wearing a mask, social distancing, washing your hands, avoiding large groups. And it's challenging. 18 to 21, 22-year-olds in a college town at a university where it's, got a very, electric student body, a really very social scene. But right now is not the time that they can participate in that. So it's one of those things where I think their actions are showing what they want to do.
I know you're getting asked that question a bunch, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Going into the scrimmage tomorrow, I know it'll be the second one of the preseason for y'all. What kind of jump are you looking from your team from the first one?
Well, I would anticipate. Here's what I anticipate. We got a bunch of guys on offense that have a lot of pride in the way they play, and we have some talent over there. And then you got a bunch on defense all of a sudden that they're playing with a tremendous amount of confidence and a tremendous amount of intensity. There's a lot of jawing back and forth in practice. It's in good nature. It's nothing that steps over the line. But I would bet it's going to be a pretty hot scrimmage tomorrow. It's probably gonna they're probably gonna go at each other pretty good. So it's probably gonna be a high level of intensity, which is good because when you get two sides that are really competing at a high level against each other. And they can do so within that team setting. It helps you improve. Now, all of a sudden, the defense, you're seeing all the challenges that you're going to meet in the AAC. The offense, you're seeing all the things that are going to test you in the AAC. So I would expect it to be a highly competitive scrimmage tomorrow.
You were talking about testing. I know John Gilbert the other day kind of mentioned the steps for contact tracing, but how would you explain to a fan exactly what it is that the kids have gone through? Because it seems crazy, like that you could technically one day have no linemen if it spread the direct way.
It's and it's the challenge that we encountered back during July, in that if you have someone that tests positive and they have been within 6 feet of anyone for 15 minutes or longer without a mask, then they are deemed to be in close contact. And if they're deemed to be in close contact, then they're quarantined for 14 days. So and you can't test out of the quarantine. So, the kids learn pretty quick just that, you got to avoid that close contact without a mask for an extended period of time. Because some of the guys that got put in that situation, there's nothing you can do. You worry about mental health, you worry just about, conditioning, you worry about so much. So I think the contact tracing is a thing that I think will cause games to get canceled this fall, because when you do get in a situation where you have a positive, and that positive is someone that's been, in a meeting room, close contact, no mask, or it's deemed to be a close contact from a game or something like that. That's when I think we might start running into problems.
Is that something you think would perhaps lead to groups splitting off, like first strings together, second string is together, so that you would have reserves?
Yeah, the challenge is just, how do you practice? That's the challenge. If you're never going to have, your first strings together, how are you going to prepare for the speed of the game? If you're never going to have, your one defense and the backups, working a substitution package kind of deal, how are you going to prepare for the games? We talked about, practicing on 2 fields, but even doing that, it is just so difficult to get the quality reps and keep everybody separated. I think as much as we can, we've got to try to protect our bubble, and we don't have the NBA bubble. So we've got to try to protect our locker room and trying to be conscientious of not bringing the virus into our locker room.
Coach, I don't know if anyone's asked you this before, but these face masks that the team's now going to be using during games that cover the entirety of the front of the helmet, what do you know about them? Have the players used them yet? Are they any different? What all do you know about this?
We have some. Right now we're trying to get enough information to just how they'll be viewed by the medical community. If wearing it would prevent contact tracing and prevent transmission, then I think that's definitely something that we would do. The negative of it is, it will make a more of a confined environment beneath the helmet. Obviously, there's concerns about that. So I think it's something that we just don't know enough about right now as to whether or not we're going to use it or not. But we do have them, in our equipment room right now. We're probably going to test a couple of those out next week on some people and just see how that goes.
Coach, prior to last Saturday's scrimmage, you were asked about the quarterback depth chart behind Holton with those 5 scholarship guys. What can you tell us about them in the scrimmage, and then what you've seen since? And can you provide any clarity as far as who's second and who's third on the depth chart?
What I've seen is we do have some ability in that room. I think we got some guys that are very talented outside of our starter. I mean, everybody knows how talented Holton is and knows the caliber player that he is. But I think we have talent besides him in our room. I think that they are improving daily. I would say we're nowhere near making a decision on who's 2, 3, or anything like that. You're still letting those guys, compete daily and get reps to continue to separate themselves from each other. Anything else?
Earlier today, there's USA Today story released about how a group of U.S. senators have unveiled plans for some legislation. They're terming it the College Athlete Bill of Rights, just to assist things such as revenue sharing, safety and wellness standards in healthcare, things with national letter of intent. Have you had an opportunity to look at that, or what are your thoughts on that issue?
Well, I've looked at it a little bit. I have not looked at it in depth. But I just think that you got to be careful getting into a realm that you don't have a whole lot of knowledge about. I mean, I think that some of the proposals might be some things that could be good, but I think you've got to look at what's good for the student athletes, what's good for the college setting, what's good to preserve amateurism. Okay, if you're not going to look at it from those perspectives, then I think that you can end up ruining what is a really good game. I'm all for any way that we can support the players more. I think it has to be regulated, and if they can do it with some guidance, I would be in favor of it. It's no different than the name and image likeness. If they can give some guidelines, how do you regulate it? How do you make it kind of still balanced throughout your locker room? I'm all for it. But I worry about people that have no knowledge internally of the workings, the rules, and everything that goes into the college game, meddling in the college game. I just, if someone wants to start doing legislation, then they need to make sure that they, do their homework, come spend time around a college program, see the inner workings, see how, your decision may impact the student athletes on a daily basis, because some of these ideas, they may sound good, but I think that the ramifications of those ideas could be detrimental to the sport, period.
Coach, have you guys heard back on Avery Jones? I know you were trying to get a waiver for his immediate eligibility.
Yeah, we got word yesterday that Avery Jones' waiver has been approved, so he's immediately eligible. He was ecstatic last night when I told him. Had a lot more pep in his step today. Not that he hadn't been practicing well, but just a smile on his face. I'm sure he feels like that's a burden kind of taken off his shoulders. So, really excited for him and glad to have him on the roster.
We've seen the Big 12 kind of commit to more testing in season. Has there been any guidance from the American about, stricter, making those protocols stricter during the in-season competition as far as
Right.
one test per week?
I think there's some discussion right now, and I think that's what the medical, the medical professionals are looking at. I do think there's got to be a little bit of common sense too. Given the how long it takes for the virus to expose itself. I think there's some common sense ways where you could test multiple times a week, but I think you got to test on the right days for it to really work. No point in just testing just to test. It needs to be something that has some science behind it.
Are there any other questions for Coach Houston? Okay, Coach, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. You guys have a good evening.